Welcome to season 2 of Health and Self. My name is Ashley Thayer, and I am so excited. We are kicking off this season with a celebration. And since Cinco de Mayo is in 2 days, I thought today we would make a chicken tortilla soup. The Health and Self way, of course. So let me tell you what you will need to make this wonderful pot of soup for a weeknight meal, of course, and then we'll get it started. So you will need a half of a medallion onion. I've already pre-chopped it just so that way, save a little bit of time. 4 stalks of celery, already chopped. 2 cloves of garlic. Now this is a Poblano pepper. It's a little bit different than your traditional like green pepper, but it adds a smoky flavor to our chicken tortilla soup. 4 large tomatoes. You're also going to need 3 medium-sized carrots. I've already kind of just chopped them in half to make them easier to chop when we get time for that. 1 cup of frozen corn, some chili powder, it's about a tablespoon worth, some fresh oregano. Now here is the kicker. This is how you make this soup on the weeknight. Pick up a store-bought rotisserie chicken. I've already pulled it from the bone, and that's what we are going to use. It yields about 3 cups when we're all done. You'll need a little cheese. You can use feta. If your store does not have a fancy kind of like Spanish cheese, grab feta, an avocado, and of course some cilantro. Now, because it is chicken tortilla soup, I have 4 fajita-size flour tortillas on a baking sheet. It's lined with parchment paper. I'm going to toss it in my oven. It's already preheated at 350. The whole idea is we're going to make these nice and crunchy, but without the oil. You can use corn tortillas if you prefer. You can also, I've been known in a pinch to just use those fun party chips that come in the bag, you know, for like the big game that you eat with dip. I've used those in a pinch too. So I'm going to throw these in the oven. They're going to be in here for about 8 to 10 minutes. We're just getting them nice and crispy. All right, so now let's get started on our chicken tortilla soup. So I have a large pot here on, and we'll turn this on. I'm going to turn it on to about a medium-high heat. You will need a tablespoon of olive oil. Now, who remembers from season 1, my tip for measuring out your olive oil if you don't want to bring out the measuring spoons? Use the cap. The cap just about yields 1 tablespoon worth of olive oil. So we're going to pour that into our pot and let it start to heat up. Now, the cool thing is about chicken tortilla soup is that you can really kind of make it your own. Now, I use veggie broth to help kind of up your vegetable content. When this is all said and done, each serving of soup contains 3 servings of vegetables. That is really awesome for boosting your health for sure. But the beauty is I use veggie broth to continue to help that. And if you wanted to make this completely vegan, you could and just omit the chicken, and then you've got it. So onion, celery, and the Poblano pepper. So I'm going to cut my Poblano pepper around the seeds. Poblano peppers are not super spicy. Thank goodness, because you guys know the Thayers are kind of wimps when it comes to spice. I maybe am like the strongest one. I like a little bit of spicy food. Now we're going to just go ahead and chop this up around the seeds. Throw away my stem. And then you're going to cut it into ribbons. The beauty of taking a Poblano pepper and cutting it into ribbons is it allows you to chop it a little bit smaller. And when you're cutting pepper, here's a quick tip. Flip it over so the smooth side is against your cutting board and the membrane is facing you because you have a little bit more stability with your knife. And safety first, keep all your little fingers intact. And you can just do a rough chop. I like my soup to be a little bit on the chunky side to make it more fun and rustic. So just a nice rough chop. Again, the membranes are facing me. There we go. Now, if you really like spice, you could add a jalapeno if you'd like, but I think this soup is a-okay the way that it is. All right, so my poblano is chopped. All right, run my knife through it one more time. And let's check my oil. Now, how do you know if your oil is heated? When you move it around the pan, you should start to see little waves start to form as it coats the bottom of your pot. All right, that's ready to go. I'm going to toss in my onion, celery, and the poblano pepper. Now, in New Orleans cooking, onion, celery, and pepper is known as the Holy Trinity. Smells amazing, but the poblano pepper, we're just adding a little bit more flavor to it than your traditional green pepper. Now, did you know that Cinco de Mayo is actually celebrated more here in the United States than it is actually in Mexico? So a lot of times people wonder and people think that Cinco de Mayo is like Mexican Independence Day. It's not. It's actually in celebration of the Battle of Pueblo, when the Mexican army defeated the French army in 1862. So in case you go on Jeopardy, now you know the year. 1862 was the Battle of Pueblo. And that's what Cinco de Mayo is actually celebrating. But here in the United States, as well as in communities where there's a higher Latin-based community, they celebrate it a lot. Of course, you can enjoy any kind of cuisine that's paying homage to Mexico, of course. But this chicken tortilla soup is perfect for that weeknight. All right, so you will need 2 cloves of garlic. Just going to give these a quick smash to help release the flavor, and a rough chop. We do not add it with the onions and the peppers because we do not want garlic to burn. Garlic has a tendency to burn really quickly. All right, so I've smashed them and now I'm just going to give them a rough chop. Just break it down. All right, run your knife through. Now, when cooking with garlic, if you would like to make it easier, you can use a garlic press. It's a little gadget that you stick the clove of garlic right in the middle and it kind of pushes it through almost like a cheese grater. Or you could buy minced garlic already chopped like at the grocery store. But just be mindful because those are usually soaking in oil. And the goal of Health and Self is for you to have flavorful, easy, healthy recipes, but also monitor your oil content, monitor your salt content. Okay, so my 2 cloves of garlic are chopped. I'm going to go ahead and add them to my onions, celery, and poblano pepper and stir that around. They're starting to get translucent. You can smell the onions and the celery and the peppers. Okay, I'll give you a quick glimpse there. You can kind of see what it looks like. Oh yeah, all right. So now, while that is continuing to saute, I'm going to chop my tomatoes. You need 4 tomatoes. These are Roma. They were on sale at the grocery store. You know, the beauty of Health and Self and the whole idea behind my recipes is that they have to be family friendly, they have to be fast, they have to be healthy, and budget friendly. You're not going to see Ashley pulling out caviar and fancy ingredients that you can't find in your everyday store. So with that, I just grabbed some large Roma tomatoes that were on sale, and that's what I'm going to just do a rough chop on for our soup. Now, I do want to try to cut around the seeds for the most part. Some of them can go in. Some of the juices from the membrane of the tomato are good to go in as well, but we don't want a whole lot in the soup. I love tomatoes, and I'm so glad. I mean, it's May, which means we're moving into tomato season. Have you ever head over to New Jersey and pick up fresh tomatoes? I like to just slice them and sprinkle a little salt. Ooh, so good and fresh. Easy summer salad with tomatoes. That's the other thing about this soup. It's an easy kind of summertime soup as well. A lot of times we think of soups as only being for like winter and cold. You can make this soup in the summer, Pair it with your margaritas, of course, for Cinco de Mayo. But today, since Cinco de Mayo, it's Tuesday, and Cinco de Mayo falls on a Thursday, you know what the Thayers are doing? You guessed it, taking somebody to practice. And today, since it's Tuesday, 3 out of the 4 Thayer girls have to go to some sort of sports practice. So Ashley's not gonna have a margarita today, but I do have my lime sparkling water and some fresh lime standing by when it's time to eat. All right, slice up this last tomato. Remember, just kind of mainly going around the seeds. Throw my trash away. All right. And then on our tomatoes, again, we're just gonna give them a rough chop. It doesn't have to be beautiful. They're going to go into the pot and saute and soften, but then I'll tell you how we're going to make them like soup, because we're gonna add a little bit of the veggie broth, and then you're also going to add an immersion blender. Yep. We're actually gonna blend this up some. We're still gonna leave it kind of chunky. But that's the beauty of this soup. I like using an immersion blender. If you do not have one, do not go out and get one, okay? All right, the goal is you can use your home blender that you use for your margaritas. You can use a food processor as well. The whole thing is when it's hot and you go to blend it, just wanna be safe, that's all. That's why I like an immersion blender, because it's meant for the heat and it's meant for an open pot. Okay, tomatoes are almost chopped. I smell my onion, I smell my poblano pepper, I smell that celery and the garlic. And then we're gonna add these in. Now, some other fun summer soups that are made with like fresh tomatoes, gazpacho. That's a cold soup. It takes a little bit of a mental adjustment to get used to kind of like, oh, I'm having soup, but it's cold. But it's quite tasty. Now, like I said, this soup, when it's all said and done, will actually be 3 servings of vegetables per bowl. Wow, 1 serving of protein, because we're gonna add the chicken. I'm just gonna go ahead and add my tomatoes right in. And then you're actually gonna have a serving of healthy fat because of the feta or the cotija cheese. I think I'm saying that right. All right, go ahead and give that a toss. Ooh, okay. Looks like Christmas in the bowl. I mean, it looks like Christmas in the pan for sure. Red and green, but smells amazing. We're gonna let that saute for about a couple minutes. Okay, I'm gonna grab one of my towels down so that way I can wipe my hands and wipe my station. All right, now for the other vegetables. Carrots, beta carotene, they help you see better. Also, it adds a little bit more texture. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these started. They're actually not going in until we add some of our veggie broth, but I'm gonna go ahead and get them chopped so that way, get it done. All right. And I do not want to forget about my flour tortillas crisping up in the oven either. Check on those in just a second. Now, if my daughters were here, they would come and steal the carrots and just munch on them. Then I'd have to pull out another carrot and peel them and then re-chop them up. Those girls, I tell you, they keep me busy. But that's the beauty of a meal like this. It's weeknight, it's one pot, almost a set it and forget it. Super easy. Oh my goodness, I love carrots. Now, Duriarden, Mr. Thayer, he is not a fan of carrots. So whenever I add them to soups or any dish really, I try to ensure that they're cut a little bit smaller so that way they blend in a little bit more and he can't pick around them. He's gonna say, why are you telling everybody this? I'm so glad the weather's finally getting warmer. I'm so glad it's finally spring, because now we can really utilize and take advantage of getting some of these fresh vegetables from our local Delaware farms, which is really, really awesome. And it saves on your budget. Okay, so my carrots are chopped. I'm just gonna push these over to the side, so we'll need those in a little bit. All right, so my tomatoes have softened, and now I'm going to add, so of the veggie broth, you actually need 6 total cups, but I'm going to add 2 right now because that's what we're going to use to help us blend up the soup. So I have just regular veggie broth. Veggie broth, when they make it, usually you think of beef broth or chicken broth. Veggie broth is usually a combination of tomatoes, onions, celery that are brewed together to make the broth. Just gonna go ahead and add that in. And let it come up to a simmer before I add my immersion blender into it. Let me check on the tortillas. They're getting nice and toasty. I'll give them about another minute or so while I bring my soup up to a simmer. I know you're saying, Ashley, what about the salt? What about the pepper? We're gonna add all of that towards the end. The beauty is when you use fresh ingredients, when you use herbs, you have the opportunity to add flavor without upping your sodium content, which is the best part. So this is an immersion blender. The cool thing about it is, like I said, it's meant to go into pots of liquid, soups, things like that. In season 1, we made applesauce using the immersion blender. But if you have a regular blender or a food processor, you would just take your simmering veggie broth and veggies, add it to the blender, but don't put the actual little cap that comes on with it. Cover it with a dish towel. And then that will actually allow you to blend it without hurting your hand or the lid popping off and you having loud, crazy noises. So we are going to use that. All right, let me pull my tortillas out. So these are truly your like tortilla chips, your Tostito chips that you would use. I mean, it's called Chicken Tortilla Soup. So you can see they've gotten nice and toasty. Close my oven back. All right. I'm gonna take one. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. And just give it a quick little chop. Break it apart. Ooh, hot. And I'm gonna drop these right in. I have 4 here. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. Up my power a little bit. But you could, like I said, you could use corn tortillas. You could use whole wheat tortillas. I'm partial to flour tortillas. They're just my favorite. And it's okay because this pot of soup will actually serve 6 people. 4 tortillas across 6 people is not going to equal a whole serving of carbohydrates. All right. So now that that's starting to heat up, I am actually going to take my immersion blender and stick it right in. And let's blend up some of these tomatoes and the peppers and the celery and the onions. All right, you ready? It's gonna be a little noisy. Here we go. And it's also blending up the tortillas that we've placed inside. Ooh. So fun. Okay, so the beauty, let me show you what this now looks like, because the beauty of blending this up is, one, it breaks down some of the vegetables, it breaks down the tortilla chips, but now it essentially looks like it now has this beautiful kind of creamy texture, even though, again, we didn't add cream. Let's see if I can do it without tipping it. There we go. Oh yeah, So good. And we even still have some tortilla pieces in there, and that's okay because they'll continue to cook down. So now that we have the tomatoes blended, we have some of the peppers, some of the onions blended, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So I'm going to add the carrots first. Carrots truly take the longest time to cook. Up and over into our pot. Oop, losing one. Okay, now 1 cup of frozen corn. Do not defrost it, just leave it frozen, throw it right on in there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. There's a runaway carrot. Give this a stir. Now we're also going to add the rest of our veggie broth. So now you need 4 more cups of veggie broth. Each of these little containers is actually 4 cups, so that's why I needed 2. So it's a good rule of thumb when you're shopping in the grocery store. These are equal 4 cups. So if you know your recipe calls for under 4, you're good with 1. If you know your recipe calls for more than that, then you gotta get more. All right. Thank goodness for big measuring cups. Okay, we're at the 4 mark. Throw my empty one away. I love to use veggie broth too when I'm making like brown rice or quinoa as the liquid instead of water because it just adds a little bit more flavor, which is really, really nice. Okay, let's give that a stir. Let that continue to incorporate. And then we're gonna add some of our other ingredients, our seasonings, if you will. 1 tablespoon of chili powder. Add that right in. It helps to give it a little bit of mild heat. I say mild. Then fresh oregano. So I have about a tablespoon of fresh oregano here. If you only have dried oregano, you can also use Mexican oregano as well. But if you only have dried, I would use only about a teaspoon. You don't need as much as if you have fresh ingredients. Just give this a rough chop. Truly upping our flavor content with fresh ingredients. Now, my oregano and my cilantro, I did grow in my indoor aero garden. I love that. It's a nice option to have fresh herbs all year long, and you can grow it right in your kitchen, which is absolutely fabulous. Okay. Fresh oregano going in. I'm gonna give this a stir and let this start to come up to a simmer before I add my chicken. But I'm going to show you, I've pulled the chicken from the bone already, but the beauty is about a rotisserie chicken. So when we're talking about healthy options, but that are budget friendly. So with rotisserie chicken, store-bought rotisserie chicken, your average grocery store, the cost is anywhere from $5 to maybe $6, I'd say at the max $7 for a whole cooked chicken, seasoned and everything. The beauty is, if you were to pick up a raw chicken, a whole raw chicken, it's like $6 a pound. 1 whole chicken is more than 1 pound. That's why rotisserie chickens are your friend. 2, you're saving yourself time. So in addition to saving money, you're saving time because it's already cooked. You can buy it at the start of the week. You can use this for sandwiches. If you want to kind of make a little chicken salad sandwich, you can put it in your soups. I've even taken like the chicken breast off and just microwaved it and added a little bit of like vegetable. I top it on top of my green salads, like my spinach salads, my kale salads. It's just an easy go-to that doesn't cost a lot of money. Now, I did primarily pull just, as my girls call it, the white meat, the chicken breast off, the 2 chicken breasts off. However, I did pull one of the thighs off as well and pulled the chicken meat off just to give it a little bit more flavor. Chicken thighs are your friends. You can eat them They're good, very flavorful. Okay, so we've got a rough chop and a little bit of pull, and we're good to go. All right, I'm going to add this right to my soup. And we're going in. Uh-oh, run away. And again, because the chicken's already cooked, it's fabulous because I don't have to wait for it to simmer and cook through. If you meal prep on Sundays and you grill up a lot of chicken breasts, you can add that as well. You could do that instead. Or you could just do the rotisserie chicken like I have. Okay, so we're gonna let this simmer away, up my power just a little bit, and let all the flavors continue to incorporate. While I'm waiting for that to finish cooking, I'm going to take the rest of my tortillas and let's break them up into little fun little topper pieces, pull them apart. I love easy weeknight dishes like this. And that's the beauty. So in season 2 of Health and Self, you're going to see more family-friendly, healthy weeknight meals. You're going to see fabulous guests, some new guests, some favorites. Of course, Chef Dana will be back with me. The Thayer girls will be back. Even DeReardon is coming back. So we will have a fabulous time in season 2. And you'll still see healthy, family-friendly recipes. All right, as well as wellness tips. All right, so these are broken up. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let me get a bowl. I need a bowl. Ooh, let's get a fancy one. Let me get one of these really fancy ones. Should bring a stool. Okay, there's my bowl. So, cotija cheese or feta cheese. Not all stores have everything. I'm going to go ahead and have my avocado. Now I saw this on TikTok. You're supposed to be able to just push the back and the pit's supposed to just pop right out. It did it, it did it, it did it. Just give a little slice across. So we're just gonna add the cubes of avocado right on top of our soup. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of cilantro. I have some fresh cilantro here that I also grew in my Arrow garden. Just about a teaspoon, just a nice topper, nice finisher piece. Okay, so that's ready to go. My topping's ready to go. Lastly, since it's Cinco de Mayo, I need a little lime flavored beverage. Normally it'd be a margarita, but since it's Tuesday and I have to take kids to school, we're just gonna add a little bit of lime sparkling water and some fresh lime juice. The other thing too is I'm gonna squeeze a little bit of my lime juice in my soup. Quick little slice. There we go. Oh yeah. The soup is ready. So first things first, actually let me get a soup ladle. Be smart about this, Ashley. Get a soup ladle. There we go. Okay, soup ladle. Ooh, it's hot and steamy. And remember, 3 servings of vegetables in the soup. Top with a little tortilla, because remember it's chicken tortilla soup. With a couple more. Sprinkle a little feta or cotija, make sure I'm saying that right. Cheese on top, a little cilantro. Fabulous. And then lastly, a little avocado, and I need a spoon to eat with. There we go. And we're ready. Okay, low on this. So fabulous. You can taste the vegetables. You can taste the chili. You can taste the cilantro, the oregano. So beautiful. And that rotisserie chicken just makes it so much easier. Oh, let me turn my stove off. Now, let me tell you something. This is the kickoff to season 2. I cannot wait for you to join me every Tuesday right here on DETV at 11 a.m. for more healthy recipes, fun, healthy living tips. Meanwhile, I'll see you next week right here, and I'm going to enjoy my chicken tortilla soup. Happy Cinco de Mayo.